welcome to Relationships at Work, a leadership podcast helping you build workplace connection, improve culture, and avoid blind spots. I'm Russel Lolacher, your host of the show. I'm a communications and leadership expert with a couple of very successful decades in both those areas, and a whole heap of curiosity, just like yourself, on how we can make the workplace a better place. It's mini episode time. It's the holidays. It's a gift, shall we say. No, it's not a gift. I do this every week. But still, I'm happy to present it to you. See a little play on words there? I must be into the holiday cheer. Needless to say, it's not a very holiday-themed episode, this solo episode. It's more about getting us back on track for the year ahead, because 2025 is wrapping up. 2026 is right around the corner. What kind of leaders do we want to be? What kind of presence do we want to show up, no matter where we fit within the organization? Well, the focus I have here is something we as leaders may not even know we're portraying, we're pushing, we're expecting. And it's dangerous and it's damaging. And we're talking about bootlicking. I recently attended a friend's big birthday bash. Good times were had by all, one of those kind of shindigs. And I got to meet a few new cool people. One of them, we'll call her Sarah Works, told me about her new job, which she loves. Absolutely loves this new gig. But there was one unexpected part of the role that she hated. Feeling like she had to bootlick for her boss. This constant need to suck up, or perception of the need to suck up, was hurting her relationships and killing her interest in the job. I don't blame her. Let's be honest about something. Many have experienced, but few talk about, that slow, creeping pressure to manage your boss's insecurities, their emotions, right? So we seem to have to want to walk on eggshells before making suggestions, or praising their ideas more than they probably deserve. How about hiding our full thoughts so we don't rock the boat? It's not in our job description. It's not in the performance metrics, but somehow, in a lot of instances, it becomes part of our day-to-day. You become a part-time ego manager, and it just wears people down. So why does this happen? Well, because workplaces operate on fear sometimes and not trust. Because some leaders haven't done the work to separate feedback from failure. Because conflict avoidance has been rebranded as professionalism. Can't be honest, can't be really honest, because that's not professional. And truthfully, because some egos are fragile at any level of the organization, that they require a bit of a cushion of constant affirmation. I was listening to the story from Sarah, and I was thinking, do I do that? Have I ever done that in my career? Because a lot of leaders aren't confident in being leaders. They're just thrust in these positions because they were good at a thing, and now they're leaders in charge of people. So there's some imposter syndrome. There's some insecurities there. So are we unwillingly pushing this onto our teams to make us feel good, to look like we're overly sensitive? Because instead of speaking the truth, a lot of employees learn to stay quiet. Instead of bringing creativity, they bring safety, right? Instead of leaning in, they just back away. They're scared. They're worried. They're concerned. And the worst part, it then becomes normal. And it does damage. When ego stroking becomes part of the job, here's what suffers. Psychological safety. No one wants to be the one who says too much. So ideas stay unspoken, problems stay unresolved. Engagement also suffers because employees stop trying to improve things when they realize the truth isn't welcome, or their version of the truth isn't welcome because it doesn't align with the truth that the leader sees. Trust. If people are pretending everything's fine to protect someone's status quo, no one's actually being honest. And lastly, culture gets really damaged by bootlicking. Flattery gets rewarded. Challenge gets punished. And that's a fast path to mediocrity. This kind of culture isn't sustainable. I remember talking to one executive in one of my roles, and I was pushing back on his reasoning around a survey that they were conducting, around the results and what they actually mean and what they were really communicating. He did not like my answers, didn't like them at all. He actually stopped talking to me for months, because I was critical of what he wanted, of what he thought was the right way of doing things, when all I was trying to do was make it better or get more clarification out of it. How did that help the situation or the organization or my relationship with him? It didn't. He wanted me to go, yes, of course, whatever you say. Yes, yes, of course, yes. That is a tough organization to work for and tough leaders to work for. This kind of cultures aren't sustainable. People burn out, they disengage, or they leave altogether. Not because they can't handle the job, but because they're tired of managing their manager. But here's the thing. I'm sure many leaders don't even realize they're creating this because they lack training, like I said, the self-awareness, the situational awareness to recognize their negative impact. So the question I want to pose this week is, how can we avoid being the bootlicking boss or leader? First, what we need to do is reward, I hate this term, real talk. If someone challenges our thinking, brings up something uncomfortable, or points out what could be better, say thank you. Mean it. Let people see that hard truths aren't punished. They're actually welcomed. Even if it stings a little bit, our egos can take it, especially if it stings a little. When you show that agreement is safe, you open the door to better ideas, deeper engagement, and real trust. We also need to shift from knowing to learning. Leaders don't have to have all the answers. They really, really don't. But they do need to ask the right questions. What do you see that I don't? What could we be missing here? Is there a better way? Great questions. And I think we need to operationalize questions like that. When we lead with curiosity, not certainty, what we're doing is modeling growth. And that gives everyone else permission to grow too. And the last thing we can do, or the last thing I'm going to mention today, is separate respect from deference. If the only people who feel safe speaking up are our peers or higher ups, then we've built a culture of deference, not dialogue. The most respected leaders aren't the ones who demand loyalty. They're the ones who earn it through things like consistency, fairness, humility, the important stuff. So let's be clear. Sarah, who started me down this path, she shouldn't need to manage her boss's emotions. Sarah shouldn't have to buffer every idea to keep her leader comfortable. And Sarah definitely shouldn't have to trade in honesty for harmony. If ego is at the center of our leadership, relationships aren't real, they're performative. But when we build a culture where people feel safe to say or do the thing, where they can speak truth to power, where they know they're valued for their perspectives, not their flattery, and they can be conflicting, different, that's when trust becomes more than a buzzword. That's when leadership actually means something. And Sarah can go back to focusing on the job that she loves. So let's stop normalizing ego maintenance. Let's normalize mutual respect. Because nobody signed up to be an emotional support human for their boss. And we as leaders, we're the ones that have to normalize these things. That's it. We're done. Another episode of Relationships at Work, a leadership podcast helping you build workplace connection, improve culture, and avoid blind spots. All these solo mini episodes that come out every Thursday, they are all inspired by the Raw Note newsletter, which you can get for free on LinkedIn. We have a Relationships at Work company page. You can sign up right there. Or you can go to relationshipsatworkshow.com. At the top, you can sign up to the newsletter and it'll be in your email inbox every week. All right. Take care of yourself. Have a wonderful time, however you're spending it this time of year. And I look forward to talking to you again. We're back next week with an amazing guest, and we will see you on Monday. Take care.